Jimmy Dore straight up just says, I quit COVID. Now, there'll probably be an ad at the top of this because Jimmy's not one to leave money on the table. Yep, an ad for Bill O'Reilly. We'll get to him later. We got a clip from him coming up. Okay.
Here's something funny. This is what
I'll be the judge of that.
Biden was running for president with Kamala Harris. And this was one of the things that they would put out. This is what they're going to do. They're going to fix personal protective equipment.
Oh, my God. He's really going to walk into this rake right in front of us? He's really going to do this? Is he really? He's going to make it that fucking easy right out of the gate? He's going to go, they promise to make sure, fix personal protective equipment problems for good, make sure they have all the stuff, which they have. None of the states have a shortage of anything. And as a matter of fact, as we've seen already, the quote Jimmy is more than likely going to reference is Asa Hutchinson talking about how that's great that you're sending 500 million tests out to the states, but we want other stuff too. And they're like, we got you covered. This is going to be solved. That's why we're coordinating it. That's why, you're where the rubber hits the road. You need it. We'll get it to you. Has the Biden administration so far this year had a record of dragging its fucking heels, dealing with emergencies of any sort, whether the people in the state, check Mayfield, Kentucky, and any of the other disaster sites that Biden's gone to and provided help for, whether those fuckers voted for him or not. And this prick is going to cite something from a campaign promise they kept. Let's see. Really?
For good, and Joe Biden will take responsibility rather than leave states, cities, tribes, and territories to fend for themselves. Yes, so he's not going to...
Right, they don't have to fend for themselves. They're not going to have to buy PPE on the open market. They're not going to have to worry about the federal government, Jared Kushner rolling in and sniping $200 million worth of PPE from California. Remember that shit? Is he just going to pretend last year? Is this the sort of moral and intellectual lefty equivalent of somebody, alleged lefty again? Because I don't buy it. But is this the equivalent of what we see on like CNBC, and those guys are going to look at inflation and shit as if 2020 never existed? Like just take that year out of the equation and go, well, I don't know, something fell off a cliff. Where the fuck did that come from? Right?
He's going to take responsibility rather than leave the states to fend for themselves. And in fact, he said, I am alarmed by the surge in reported COVID-19 infections, hospitalizations, and fatalities. This crisis demands a robust and immediate federal response. He said that November 3rd.
Yes, last year. And since he's been president, the federal response has been robust and immediate. How the fuck do you not know this? How does he think this is a dunk? This is lame. I mean, I try a little fucking harder, dude. First of all, again, situation entirely different back there because we were ice skating uphill to get enough PPE, get enough testing, certainly be in position to get people inoculated where we're going to have enough syringes, where there are going to be enough sites, where the site's going to be evenly presented, where low poverty area is going to get them. And you know what? As soon as he got in, he fucking well did. Did you think Jimmy has a problem if he needs to go out and find a mask anywhere right now, find a COVID test, or get vaccinated? No, he's not doing any of it. He doesn't give a fuck.
Of 2020. So this is two things that are pretty. He's really going to take control at a federal
of the response. But you can't they can drop all this stuff off at the state. If the state sets fire to it, the federal government, I guess, would send in the National Guard or something.
Level. Biden says COVID surge needs to be solved at a state level now.
Vows full federal support. You're just not going to read the words are 4 more fucking words right there. You can't get them out of your mouth. Did the comma throw you off?
Wah, wah.
Really? You're womp-wahing the fact that you can't read vows full federal support? How is this a contradiction in any fucking way? I'm serious. And he's selling this shit hard. And again, it's not like this is original to his show. There are at least a dozen right-wingers, all the usual suspects, all telling the same fucking story. I didn't bother to look for it, but I bet we could find a Glenn Beck clip that says exactly the fucking same thing, right? They're all running with it. They're all running the exact same quote. They're all avoiding the same words.
He's so much different than Trump.
Yeah, he is. Trump never vowed full federal support, nor did he bring it. Dumb fuck.
That's what I like about Joe Biden. He's so much better.
He's a big states' rights guy.
That's what they used to say about Trump. Well, Trump, he just give it all to the states. He didn't give a shit. If we would have had a good, strong...
Well, no. There was no vaccine push coordinated. Remember, it was going to be Walmart parking lots and army trucks. Never happened. They were talking about what the coordinated response would be under the Trump administration. It never occurred. They started rolling it out because it was stacking up. The Biden administration put out a plan. They started drafting one before he won the fucking election. Of course they're different. And I don't know why. I don't know who this dude is, but this is the entire show. This is now the Jimmy Dore show is dunk on Biden for trying and while dunking on yourself for not understanding words.
Leader, that's what people say. We could have got a handle on this COVID, but because Trump just kicked it to the states. Oh, I don't know if you saw the fucking...
No, that's not why it wasn't because he, quote, kicked it to the states. He was kicking some of the states. He was denying them PPE and basically slow walking everything he possibly could. We know that. And the lag in vaccinations are entirely in Trump states because of Trump's messaging about it. Because of how they handled it. There's a huge difference between Biden's response and Trump's response. I almost feel like, look at the freeze frame face that he's doing right now. He kind of knows it, but to be on Jimmy's show, he has to, they have to share a big fake anchorman laugh about it.
But the headline says, Biden says COVID surge needs to be solved at a state level.
Vows full federal support. Vows full federal support. On a call where he's coordinating with the governors in person himself.
And here he is saying it. Want to see him say it? There he is.
Look, there is no federal solution. This gets solved at a state level. Look, there is no federal solution.
Oh, yeah. Yes. He's got the two sentences on a fucking loop. Like, he's even less honest about this than Dim Pool is.
This gets solved at a state level.
Look.
What?
There is no federal solution. This gets solved at a state level. That's what he said. Smiling. After he said this.
Right, which does not contradict what he just said at all.
Crisis demands a robust, immediate federal response. And after he...
Right, and they got them all that stuff. All the states have all they need. The federal response is to provide the states with everything they need, especially if they need testing sites. The federal government will supply them. If they don't need them, they'll just supply supplies. If they need food and other shit, that's where the federal government could jump in. If it's PPE, that's how they deal with fucking hell.
He will take responsibility rather than leave it to the states.
Cities, tribes, and territories to fend for themselves and focus on producing more of these critical what? Critical what? Move your hand,
why
Jimmy.
people
Supply. Oh, Jimmy, there you go. You almost did it, buddy. You almost fucking did it, you sap. You almost did it. You almost got through the whole thing without, using your right arm to hide the word supplies. You almost did it. And yet, you fucked up. You should have just keep your hand. Next time when you're covering the word that fucks your argument, just keep your hand there the whole time. Yeah, just leave it there the whole time, and then click the next slide with your left hand, and then take your hand down. And we won't notice that this was specifically about supplies of the states, particularly PPE, but also when they would need syringes and they would need materials to get people vaccinated and all that kind of stuff, and the vaccine itself, which they in fact fucking well did, and did it again when a booster was necessary because of all the assholes who didn't get vaccinated, like Jimmy and his Dunko fans. You gotta keep your jack off hand covering the word supplies there, Jimmy, because you just fucked your whole argument on this one. You can go back to the other one because it said robust and immediate federal response, which they also did. Now, I guess it depends on what your idea of a federal response is. Apparently, Jimmy and Tim Pool and the black conservative dude, what's his name? His name only comes up every so often. What's his? He's only got his graphic up every so often. What's this at the beginning? I think you should leave it up all the time, dude. Save yourself some of the airspace up here and give yourself a lower third. I don't know why any of us need to. I'm glad you're not spitting into your microphone, but it would be a good idea. What's this dude's name? Hold on. Legal disclosure. I am not a financial advisor. Oh, that's good to know. Okay, so this is one of those like used to be a Bitcoin channel and then went political because it sells. Was it? There you go. Greg Foreman. Yeah, there you go. So Greg Foreman, Jimmy Dore, and Tim Pool all had the same take. Tim Pool was dumb enough to use the entire audio clip. Jimmy's playing the loop. But then Jimmy fucked himself by playing, posting two things from the campaign, one was about PPE. This is specifically about PPE, right? It's abundantly clear, which they absolutely solved, and they absolutely did more than Trump did, and did it quickly, while getting us out of Afghanistan at the same time, and passing a rescue package and the biggest infrastructure bill in 3 decades that seeds an infrastructure bank, and they still managed to walk and chew fucking gum and drape their testicles on Jimmy's forehead at the same time. It's a Cirque du Soleil of dunkery that the Biden administration took care of.
Trump, he's such a lazy ass. He doesn't take responsibility.
Yes, he is. He's a lazy ass. He was golfing even during the pandemic. We spent 340 years worth of presidential salary sending him golfing. Meanwhile, Biden goes home on weekends to his house. He doesn't charge the Secret Service for rooms on his golf course.
He gave it to the states, and that's why everybody's still locked.
No, he didn't actually give it to the states. That was the problem. That was the actual impetus of this entire fucking post right here. But apparently, this person that's this is his mockery face, mocking people who were upset that Trump was hamstringing the PPE like availability to states, where Jared was jumping in and stealing from states as they came in, was stockpiling it for themselves. If you were upset about that, you thought that was wrong. You thought like communities of color, impoverished communities and the like were getting fucked by this behavior. This is the kind of face this is the kind of face you might have made. And apparently you deserve no respect because of that. I don't know, why is this is very choppy all of a sudden, and I'm not quite sure why. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to close some windows, save myself some hassle. Hold on. Do this real quick. Let's see if I can see. Sometimes it just gets a little, there's something wonky going on. Anyways, there you go.
We can't kill fucking coronavirus. and now this son of a bitch.
Look.
Yeah, this son of a bitch. He's a son of a bitch. He's a son of a bitch because he's vowing federal support in the same way you deal with a hurricane or a fucking twister or a flood where people are being hurt by already meeting the promises that Jimmy showed that was supposed to be a contradiction.
There is no federal solution.
Speaking just before a meeting Monday with some of the nation's governors, Biden said there is no federal solution. This gets solved at the state level. The administration plans to distribute the tests. So they're going to now. Do you remember when Jen Psaki said, what are you supposed to do? Just give a test to everybody? You know how expensive that is? Well, now 2 weeks later, Joe Biden's going to give a test to everybody.
That son of a bitch. What a terrible man. How dare he? What an awful thing. Why in the beginning they're like, we're gonna have to produce these tests, and somebody went and looked and like, no, we've been stockpiling for a while. We have a bunch. We can actually do it. All right, well then let's fucking do it. Okay. This son of a bitch. Make your scowly Trump was a bastard face.
They took that reporter's idea.
Yeah, they took the reporter's.
Or they were already working on it.
Yeah.
And just did it because they could. I guess the immoral thing would be is somebody said that, they checked and like, we could do it, but fuck that guy. Did Jimmy just spit all over his microphone?
That's stupid. Write that down.
Maybe the reporter should ask when we're going to get health care.
I don't know. Ask Bernie why he lost twice. Also, I hate the way the fucking Rumble doesn't let you jump back a frame. But let's take a look at this while he's got it up there and frozen. This little gem. The administration plans to distribute the tests free to Americans, support more vaccination and testing sites, and deploy 1,000 military medical professionals to augment hospital staff nationwide. That is a robust and immediate federal response to a state's need, and then the states will individually handle how to get it to their states. In the same way that states have exchanges under ACA, for example, which work very well. And anybody who knows my story about my mom working in Kentucky, signing people up on Kentucky Connect, which is the Obamacare thing in Kentucky, people were like, at least I could sign up for this Kentucky Connect, not that Obamacare bullshit. You know, like, and the lady with her at the table was like, actually, it is Obamacare. And my mom was like, don't tell them. They don't care. They won't sign up if you tell them. And she was right.
Write that down.
Maybe the reporter should ask when we're going to get health care. Maybe if they ask health care
Yeah.
questions and how.
Well, that is a healthcare question. And in that actual statement, that's there. Yeah. And by the way, they're all against the ACA.
Beds are you going to go ahead and add to the hospitals? How about that?
How about
Wait a minute. How many beds you're going to add to the hospitals?
And how many beds are you going to go ahead and add to the hospitals? How about that?
how about
that? Well, that clip you showed was 1,000 medical professionals to help support hospital staff nationwide to deal with all these things, not just vaccinations, but treating people. Is there, I'm sorry, are there people being triaged in parking lots still? Have we not passed that already? Deaths are on their way down. Hospitalizations are on their way down, largely because of the vaccination push that Biden did, but he's a son of a bitch, according to
that?
Jimmy.
My
Are
neck
you
is
all right?
killing me. No, it's killing me.
Yeah, I think it's probably the last piece of conscience still in your body is resting there, and I'd call the police. It might be an attempted murder.
I had it. The administration now plans.
Wait a minute, Jimmy. Are you telling me you don't sleep well at night? I find that hard to believe. That's weird. You don't feel kind of like you toss and turn and get a crick in your neck because you can't sleep because you feel kind of whorish and you know that you're getting people killed? Huh.
Distribute the tests free. So they got like somehow 300 million tests or something, or maybe it's 500 million. I can't. Could you look?
It's 500.
How many tests they got? They're going to distribute. Doesn't matter. You don't have to look it up.
Okay.
They got a gazillion tests.
Yeah. By the way, democratized workplace. Look it up. It doesn't matter, but you got to look it up for me. Find it for me.
And now distribute to everybody, even though they said they couldn't before. Go ahead, Kurt.
And not
Yeah. Okay. Wait.
not with a rebate from your insurance. You just get the test.
No,
Okay.
no read. They were trying to say we're going to get you. You have to send it into your insurance, and your insurance will get. No, I think now they're just going to give you the test.
I'd rather not get tested than go through that process.
Me too.
Well, of course, because you guys don't give a fuck about anybody around you.
I'd rather die.
I can't mail things. I'm not good at mailing.
I'd rather die of COVID. That's hilarious. By the way, what's the countdown on Kurt right now? Kurt, no, you wouldn't. I mean, that's hilarious. Shall I bring up for Kurt and Jimmy Dore's amusement pictures of people having to be proned who are dying of COVID? Kurt would rather say goodbye to all of his relatives via iPad than just get tested or have to order a test online through his insurance company, apparently.
The administration plans to distribute the test free to Americans, support more vaccination and testing sites, and deploy 1,000 military medical professionals to augment hospital staff nationwide.
50 million.
Yeah. Hold on. And I don't know what she's reading right there, but that just ain't, again, that had been up there. That was a quote. They pulled that clip. They cut that out like I do when I mean, I don't do any work. But when I like move my clips around, or I have to line stuff up, I have there's a really weird thing with how I get video into this computer, basically mirroring a monitor. And on Rumble, there's always this lip that says Rumble at the top of every video. And if I click on YouTube, there isn't one. So when I go back and forth between these things, it's just like, I have to do that sometimes. It's aggravating to me. But he got one of his staff, somebody, his girlfriend or wife or whatever, and she cuts these things out, apparently reads these things and puts them up. These are a big fucking surprise to you? This is like Greg Kelly level, pre-show.
50 million tests, is that what they got?
Yeah.
50? 500 million.
You got 500 million.
Yeah, 50, 500. What's the fucking difference? Not like he cares.
So 500, that's what I had. So 500 million tests they got. And just 2 weeks ago, Jen Psaki was like, we can't afford that. How are you going to do that?
Because largely, my belief is that she was talking about not the rapid test, the kind you have to send in, or the bigger kits. But they were able to send out these at-home kits. The problem with the Omicron is that these ones that they can send out, it may or may not be effective in identifying it. But that might also, if you're producing very little virus, you might be through the window by the time it shows up anyways.
Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah.
But again, just imagine if that was Trump's press secretary that said that. The late night shows would never let them forget about it. But the virus's ability to mutate, spread, and occasionally lead to positive cases among those who have received a vaccine has made the administration's promise to slow the disease more difficult.
Yes, this is CNBC's editorializing on the facts. The facts are what they're doing. This part about it's made it hard for them. Why has it made it hard for them? Well, because we talk about it. And we tell people what we think about it. And so when they hear what we think about it, they think less of it because of what we think about it. Does it change the facts? No. By the way, we just got 1,000 people in the chat. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Especially the trolls. We've gotten a couple of trolls over the last few days that are new, I think, who are really, giving it their all. And it's nice to see some of you getting in here. We love our trolls because without you, we wouldn't spread out to the nether regions of the interwebs. We'd stay in our little cul-de-sac. A little group has always been and always will until they, right?
Oh, really? Because, by the way, they always knew that the virus was going to mutate. Everyone always knew this. Virologists.
Yeah, but not at the rate that it did and not in the way that it did worldwide. And they figured they could shut off and limit travel and keep the dominant strains, because sometimes they spread. There's dominant flus around the world that don't necessarily crisscross and overtake. And, we deal with that every year. They know those are going to happen, but not 3 in a year because people won't get fucking vaccinated.
Knew this. This isn't new news.
By the way, this is him still selling his Rachel Maddow's been lying to you thing.
The virus and vaccine have become politicized. Many Americans, especially those supportive of former President Donald Trump, refuse to be vaccinated.
But, Jimmy, you can't take the editorial comment on the paragraph before and act like that's a factual chunk of news and then not like this one.
Many Americans, the president keeps telling everybody to get vaccinated, but they keep saying that. The president.
Right. Yes, they do, because it keeps being true, fucko. Hold on. Should we look at, let me see if I can get this guy. Let's see. I think it was on, let's see. It's going to be on this one. COVID deaths by state party affiliation. There's a graphic that's been floating around. It was on, where is it? It was on, I think, on Twitter. You guys know what I'm talking about. Let's see. States. It's been a recent. Give me 1 second. I'm scrolling. I'm scrolling. There we go. Here's your states. Live in a red state. You likely know a few folks who've died from COVID, partly due to considerably lower vaccination rates. There's Wyoming. There's a per 100,000 people. Look at this. And it starts to go way down. The only outliers being the large population centers that got hit early. I want to see this. I got to find this, yeah, look, here's red state. Joe Biden's surrender on COVID gets more embarrassing after the receipts emerge. And this is the, it's a federal, there's no federal response. That's what they're talking about. And then there's the AOC thing that they flipped out about. There you go. In COVID deaths, red states lead. 21 of the top 30 COVID death rates are Republican. You're talking about losing a percentage of your voters, supporters, and people who generally like you. Republican Party just could not give less of a fuck. I guess they figure they already got those states locked up by such a wide margin that if they just peel off a few weaklings, they can kind of Darwin and Ayn Rand their way out of, having to dole out some Social Security at the end.
Had an interview with Candace Owens where he said, get the booster. Because if you don't, you're playing into their hands. That's what Trump...
Right. And then, yeah, recently, after playing a shit ton of footsie with it. Hold on. Why is this? All right, hold on. I'm going to switch camera things and see if it goes back to... Sometimes it gets hung up like that. I don't know why it is. He got pilloried for it, fucko. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I got it, and I got the booster. He said he got the boost. That was, by the way, not in the Candace Owens one. That was in the Bill O'Reilly one. He said he got the booster in the Bill O'Reilly thing, and he got booed by his own fucking crowd. And then Candace Owens went on and talked about him like he was a mental defective. Like, guys, he's really old and kind of dumb. He doesn't really know things. He's like kind of like, you got to forgive him because he just watches regular news. I mean, he's the greatest leader we've ever had, and he's a true American patriot, and he puts America first, and he's the greatest person, and he says things that are, abundantly true, and he's not afraid to speak his truth. But he really does have the shittiest taste in news and kind of talks out of his ass. Right.
Trump developed the fuck under his administration.
Oh, there we go. He invented there you go. Jimmy. Is that mask slipping or a Freudian slip? He invented it. Yeah, and he had a CRISPR set up in his fucking garage right next to Jimmy's studio.
He developed the fucking vaccines. And
No, he fucking well did not. And by the way, the vaccines, which apparently Jimmy is currently touting and giving Trump credit for in this, and God knows why, but Trump says the same thing about himself, and yet his own followers won't fucking take it. We just watched a video yesterday where Jimmy's basically saying Rachel Maddow's paid by Pfizer to get you to take the vaccine. He invented it, and he gave it to Pfizer so that they could have control over Rachel Maddow. Fucking hell.
Credit, by the way.
He can't bear that they're getting the credit for his terrific vaccine.
He can't bear that Joe Biden is getting credit for his vaccine. But the news media still keeps telling you this.
It's true. They're not telling you this because Trump isn't touting it and blah, blah, blah. By the way, what Jimmy is trying to reference here is that supposedly people don't want to take the vaccine because it's Trump's, and Trump wants credit for it, and he's not getting credit for it, and the media is shitting on him for it, and they're giving Biden credit for people getting vaccinated. Look at what he's pointing to. Look at the actual fucking words that Jimmy has put on the screen. The virus and vaccine have become politicized. Many Americans, especially those supportive of former President Donald Trump, refuse to be vaccinated. Does that bring up when they were for Operation Warp Speed, whether or not Johnson & Johnson, which was a part of Operation Warp Speed, came out later and was less efficacious, and was one of the reasons why there was the pause, because of the heart issues that they were showing up in like 15-year-old boys with Johnson & Johnson. They put a pause on it while Pfizer came out first and was not part of it. They guaranteed the federal government of the U.S. a certain amount. If they wanted to prepay, we'll sell them to you first as soon as we're fucking done. And we pre-bought them from everybody. And we got a bunch of AstraZeneca ones, and we were like, you know what? Pass. UK, you guys can have those back. Thanks very much. Enjoy. Yes. And you're absolutely right. Did I say Operation Warp Speed? My bad. That was obviously Operation Fart Speed.
Captain's log.
Okay, so here we go. But look, Jimmy's like, huh? They keep saying that Trump's mad about Biden getting credit and Candace Owens. That's not what that fucking that quote says at all. It just states a fact that the majority, and not all, by the way. I mean, Jimmy's a Trump voter, no question. Like, he's all in on Trump. He's been up Trump's colon for the better part of the last 2 years, mainly because it looked like partly the idea is that he's so far left, he's in the Susan Sarandon camp, where he wants the entire thing to crash, and he thought Trump would bring around the death and destruction that would eventually hit a big reset, that idea, which is allegedly what he believes. I don't think so. I think it's just nihilistic bullshit. I think he actually does like the guy.
As if Trump is being anti-vax. He's being the opposite.
No, he's not. The opposite of anti-vax would be you must get the vaccine, like a neo-vaxxer. But he plays softball with it, and he wasted all this fucking time. He said it in 3 interviews. One with Candace Owens, one with Bill O'Reilly, and one half-assed on Sean Hannity's late in the game. And every time he brought it up at a rally, he'd get booed by his own fucking people. Where did that start? I'm sorry. Jimmy would have a point if the people at any of these situations, if the blowback came from the left after the Candace Owens interview, if the left went, what? This motherfucker wants me to take the vaccine. I'm going, is there a way I can get this purged out of my system? That's not the case. Did a bunch of lefties and Democrats and progressives and liberals show up at the Bill O'Reilly, Donald Trump thing and boo him for getting vaccinated? No. Every time he brings it up and he goes even just that little bit, everybody's like, well, good. At least he did that. But fuck's sake. Day late and a dollar short. It's a bunch of your own fucking people that are dying, dumbass.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, issued an executive order in October prohibiting any entity, including private businesses, from imposing COVID-19 vaccination requirements on employees or customers. Governor Ron...
Okay, and I'm sorry, are you chubbing now? What's your feeling on that? I mean, are you just going to read us the whole article?
It's in Florida, thought to be a 2024 Republican presidential contender, has in recent months broken away from federal public health guidance and curtailed mask and vaccine mandates.
And had an enormous spike in deaths and cases in his state. Weird.
They also have the lowest anyway. The president's...
sorry, they have the lowest what? Florida has the lowest what, Jimmy? What were you going to say? The lowest incidence? The lowest death rate? The lowest what? More people have died while Ron DeSantis has been governor of COVID than was his margin of victory in his election.
Came as COVID-19 cases surged over the Christmas holiday weekend. A lot of people reporting they had colds. They always leave that part out. The highly...
Well, nobody... I mean, all right, this is sarcasm, and this is what idiots have instead of a sense of humor.
They always leave the president's remark came as the way milder COVID-19 variation cases surged.
Wait, shouldn't PolitiFact check the context being left out?
Yes, why don't you add more context? Okay, let me go back to this. The highly...
To what?
Infectious Omicron variant, the highly infectious and mild.
The ideal one to get.
The ideal one to get has in the past...
Well, until it isn't. There is this now. Hold on. There is one little thing, and there's probably a reason why Jimmy doesn't give a fuck about this one. Yeah, here you go. The one difference, what's the big difference between Omicron and its virulence and who it affects? Hold on, let me see a clear one. Now we found out yesterday that Russell Brand has 2 kids, allegedly. Right? Does Jimmy have kids? I don't think so, right? He doesn't have kids, does he? No? Because this might be the reason why the whole, like, it's milder. Why don't you just say it's fucking milder? It's milder. Get over it. It's fucking milder. Who cares? Why bother? This is why. Because if you dick around, you're like, hey, this is the one that doesn't make adults sick that bad. This is the one that kills kids. Right? That's why they're being careful. That's why they're being cautious. That's why they're being fucking adults about this. That's why. That's why they're not going, it's easy, and it's no big deal, and you get the sniffles, and it's just a cold. That's why they don't do it. That's why. Because when you do that, that's when people are like, hey, it's fine, and then a bunch of people die. And it's been so deadly, and there's been other outbreaks, and there's, in the case of Delta, or the hospitalizations they're finding are getting through in adults in the Delta, and the Omicron in kids is what's filling the hospitals. So you get a shit ton of Omicron cases. A bunch of them are going to be the fucking children. They're going to end up in the fucking hospital. But Jimmy doesn't care. It's some dead kids. They can't even vote for another decade.
Caused a handful of states, including New Jersey and New York, to report more coronavirus cases than any other 7-day period during the pandemic. Do you see if there's ever was a fact check that should be fact checked for context? It should be this shit.
Yeah, because there's so many cases, but the hospitalizations and deaths are way down. Unless you actually give a fuck about kids. And then you might want to tap the brakes just to make sure that you can get some sort of treatment to these kids. Because there's now a Pfizer pill that's like a 5-pill treatment that you can get if you get it. You may not need to be vaccinated at some point in the future. You'll be able to take this and survive it, and that's great. But they haven't got it now, and they don't know how well it works on kids, and it might have a secondary effect on their immune system, and it's different when you use medications on adults versus children. So that's why nobody is bum rushing the fuck into this and going, we're through, we're done, we're through, we're done. Everybody's cautious because of what we've been through. But Jimmy doesn't give a fuck. Because Jimmy thinks the world's overpopulated and he's like a closet Thanos wannabe.
While early signs suggest the variant may cause more mild symptoms. Holy shit, it took a while to get to that, didn't it?
No, it didn't. Just because you read slow does not mean they're being slow.
Health experts urge rigorous public health experts who are in the
they urge. It's pronounced urge. Jesus Christ! You should have seen the video where he couldn't pronounce chimera. Like for a whole fucking video, he was saying chimera like it's a chimichanga. Fucking hell.
Of big pharma urge rigorous public safety protocols and say the variant's rapid spread could strain the U.S. hospital system with milder cases.
No. The volume of cases, because of its transmissibility, means that 20% that might need hospitalization, that 5% that might lead to ventilation or some other, or need oxygen, for example, is a much bigger fucking number. Ugh. Yes, and because there's a lot more milder cases, it's easier to catch and spread. What an asshole. Cheers, Don Dragon.
You don't have enough
It could lead to more deaths, even though there hasn't been one death reported from Omicron. They still.
Get out of there with your boot ad. This is, and by the way, this is Jimmy basically reiterating these Facebook posts. Is it cold with 100% survival rate? The whole thing is now just political theater. Reports here and here spoke of the milder symptoms associated with disease. Now it appears severe as let's see. Okay, Reuters reported on December 21st that Omicron infections appear to be as severe as previous variants here. There have been COVID-19 deaths linked to the Omicron variant. The coverage of deaths attributed to Omicron in the United States can be the United Kingdom can be seen here. According to December 22nd report, 129 people are hospitalized, 14 people died per the announcement from the junior health minister Gillian Keegan. In Israel, they confirmed the first known death in the country of a patient with Omicron who said to have suffered from several serious pre-existing conditions. The death of an unvaccinated Harris County, Texas man surfaced on Monday 20th and is reported to be the first death attributed to the Omicron variant. This is just it catching up. And again, it's the width of its spread and the depth of its spread that can kill fucking people.
How to scare the shit out of you. Thank God, right?
Jimmy, we don't have.
Well, no, they're not. Honest to God, like, as much as they're like, we're going to be careful about this and all these kind of stuff, you're not seeing the same kind of lockdown shit we were seeing at the beginning of the pandemic or in the middle of Delta. Nobody's talking about Omicron like it's fucking Delta anymore. They aren't. Schools aren't locked down. Churches aren't shut down. None of that is happening.
Enough lozenges for all these Omicron cases.
Where are we going to get all the Kleenexes for all the runny noses and all the Advils and Tylenols for the headaches and body aches?
And the Ricolas.
Every day it goes up and it goes down. The last weekly average was about 150,000. And
sorry, every day it goes up and it goes down? Are we misreading this? Jimmy, are you reading the same words we are? Every day it goes up and up is what this says. The last weekly average was about 150,000, and it will likely go much higher, infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci said Sunday on the ABC program this week.
They're going to go much higher, said Anthony Fauci. It's going to go higher with more mild disease.
One of the most dangerous things about COVID overall was the volume of mild disease and the transmissibility because of it, and because you could spread it without showing too many symptoms. instead of like people avoiding you because you're coughing and sneezing and you're a mess, which is what keeps people away from you when you've got the flu, or you go, I'm not feeling well, stay away, and you don't even know, and then you're spreading it around. That was a concern. That's an even bigger concern with Omicron because it spreads faster. It has a faster fucking window.
If you're getting your fucking news about COVID from CNBC or any of the establishment news organizations, you're being propagandized in the extreme.
Propagandized in the extreme. That's what Fauci said this week. That's what they say he said, which is true. They quoted DeSantis and another Republican governor. That was true. Fucking CNBC is like state media. Get the fuck out of here.
And of course.
And by the way, he started this fucking video lying out his ass. Right? Literally showing us something, hiding facts with his arm in the video. Like, all right.
We tell people to get vaxxed here, but we have lots of critiques of all the bullshit propaganda and lies surrounding the COVID policy from the government. And any YouTuber who calls me an anti-vax is a nutless wonder who doesn't have one fucking critique of the oligarch.
I don't think you're an anti-vaxxer, Jimmy. I think you're a liar and a hypocrite and a fool. But I also think you're trying to maximize revenue off of the eyeballs and, you know, and the lizard brain of YouTubers and people on Rumble. You know, you're scooping up, you're crawling around, you know, picking up nut lint under Alex Jones's desk because it's a profitable endeavor. I arguably Jimmy is worse than an anti-vaxxer because he's more than likely vaccinated as they are, but he just constantly sells this idea that it's bad and getting it is bad so he can talk other people out of it. It's like Jimmy's call for violence in the streets and murdering of people and the killing of police officers. He's never going to fucking do it himself, but he's happy to drive other people to do it.
Establishment over COVID policy. And none of them will, and isn't it funny how none of them will wants to debate a fact I said? Not one, nobody.
By the way, I will. I mean, I have no interest on going on Jimmy's show. I find him a total bore. But I mean, this isn't difficult. When we just looked at his breakdown of this shit versus his breakdown, he even just said, what's the facts he just said? There's been no Omicron deaths. Where it first came out, first identified here, these were the noted deaths amongst the Omicron patients. You can read the articles about them here. The first one in the U.S., the first death that was specifically from Omicron that they could trace, Monday, December 20th. And again, it's reaching contagion point. We started hearing about this like November, starting to gear up after we just gotten free of Delta. Is it going to make it over here? Yes, it slowly made it here. It became the dominant wave. It was the same way in the UK. UK has deaths. And Jimmy just said there have been 0 Omicron deaths. Didn't even hedge it. Didn't even go, there's barely any. It's so minor. It's a statistical insignificance. You have more of a chance of struck by that kind of shit. I'm breaking bridges again. Why would I want to bridge with this asshole? I'm dead serious. Like this is gross. There's zero difference. There's zero difference between him and Bongino and Tucker Carlson and that crowd. They're the same fucking people. They just use different jargon so that he can pretend to be on the left. The effect is the same.
Nobody will debate a fact I've said. Nothing. Let's do it.
Well, I like I said, it's pretty easy. I'll just, in case you want to look at this later, Jimmy, you just lied when you said there's no Omicron deaths, and there are, and the concern is it's so virulent and so easily transmissible that the sheer volume of cases it could cause as it cascades through the world could raise the death rate because it's more contagious than the other ones, which were more deadly but less contagious. It could be, it's kind of a statistical averaging problem. High death rate, low contagion, high contagion, low death rate ends up being about the same number of actual dead human beings. That's what we're trying to fix, because those lives actually have worth. Not that you give a fuck. Secondly, the two quotes that you used at the top of this video from the campaign that were specifically about supplies, and you used that as a way to say that Biden was lying or failing because there's no federal solution to a pandemic, that they have to work with the states piece by piece, is in somehow contradiction to those two quotes you showed, which were absolutely supported by the actions that the Biden administration has taken since they got in, providing all the PPE and supplies and vaccines and materials and now tests that everybody needs. It even goes on to quote the fact that they're sending all this shit out while you spent the better part of one thing would be, if you're going to use the articles like this, like I put up videos and talk over these things and do my reactions to them because I want my reaction to be raw and based on the information that I have. And if I'm ever confronted with a moment where I'm like, that sounds interesting, I might have to look into that, I will. But when it comes to an article that you sought out to bring up, like he took those two clips, they chose those, and then they pop these clips. They're not scrolling through the article like I do. When I grab an article that I find that we've, Googled and look in, this is straight from Reuters. There's ads in it and shit like that, and I'm scrolling through it because I'm doing it physically right here. They ISO'd those things. These are stills. They made these, put that little graphic in, they added it to their little program that they use for the show, right? And he switches back and forth and puts these things up, and he just kind of cycles through the graphics using whatever program they're using. But they chose those. These are quotes from the article. He's not just reading the article straight through, like just rolling straight through it and surprised by it. He set this up. The argument would be is that the difference between what, Jimmy does and what I'm doing is that Jimmy is arguably prepping this stuff for a specific narrative that he's selling because he saw something so egregious that it was written someplace and he must fact check it himself or present it as evidence for himself. And he's pretty slapdash with it because there's a couple of paragraphs in there. He's like, yeah, totally nailed it. That's exactly what I've been saying. And then 2 minutes later, he's like, if you listen to anything these fuckers say, you're being propagandized to. But in the meantime, he chose these pieces and then he can't fucking read them. Again, the two top ones from the Biden administration were specifically about supplies, PPE. They solved that. And the robust and immediate response is exactly what they did with the vaccine rollout, and it's exactly what they continue to do to adapt to new elements that pop up when it comes to, variants that pop up or issues that they have with supply chain stuff. They're being fucking adults. This is just, right now, this is just like hate porn that he does. Just like Biden hate porn.
People won't tell you what you said exactly either.
No.
Generally. All these articles.
I just did, Kurt.
About Malone's band. It's always not telling you what they said.
That's right.
Suspiciously.
Yeah, that's it. It's part of the big, and that, again, that's the big, like, it's a conspiracy. The derp state is behind everything. It's, interestingly enough, like the people that, nobody will debate you because they're part of the system and they can't, like he's not fucking part of whatever system he thinks exists. It's like Alex Jones. This is the same shit Alex Jones does all the time. Alex Jones is like, I'm the only person telling the truth. We have the documents, whatever. Like, motherfucker, if you were saying anything that was real and that there was a real, Illuminati that existed, they'd have wiped you out a long fucking time ago. You think they just made me get this big and this rich and stuff so they could knock me down. Yeah, they want you to be able to retire in comfort after being a fucking grifter for years. That's the Illuminati's fucking plan. The New World Order wants to make sure that you get, plenty of clicks per minute. Fucking hell.